From FMCG to finance, manufacturing to consulting, you've led cross-functional teams, built digital roadmaps, delivered transformational projects at scale, and brought people along with you in the process. You're a gold medalist, a certified strategist, a strong believer in environmental sustainability, and someone who's just as focused on end user happiness as you are on a business intelligence point of view. And today, I believe we are not talking to just the VP of digital. Now, I'm very glad that we have a platform that is able to introduce you as the Chief Information Digital Officer. We're speaking with a systems thinker. That's what we believe you are. A culture shaper and someone helping the future of Indian agri-tech. And with that, we would dive right in. So in terms of just your experience now, if you could just give a little bit of, where the vision took root, in terms of like, your early origins, your early intentions, when, okay, I think this is the field for me. So you've led digital growth across multiple industries, from software to manufacturing to agri. What's the through line that connects it all for you?
Actually, that's a great question because I'm basically from a different mix of industries. Honestly, I've started my career as an Android developer, where I started my industry from software, manufacturing, finance, FMCG, agriculture. So all of these industries may seem worlds apart, but when I see there's a very clear thread that runs through all of these industries. That is the belief that technology, when it is used with empathy and the purpose, we can create a really lasting change. So to give you an example, I started in software, as you said, where innovation moves very fast. So there it taught me the power of agility, building the systems, building the product, building the platform, dealing with user, dealing with lot of data. It was my foundation, I would say. It sharpened my instincts around how technology should behave, how technology should be reliable. From there to manufacturing, that was a shift. Suddenly I was dealing with legacy systems, physical processes, and dealing with operational problems. That's how I learned how to speak both digital and operations fluently. And then FMCG, finance, and now in agriculture. Here in agriculture, it's all about inclusion, accessibility. So tech here can't be really flashy. It has to be relevant. It has to be respectful, and it should be simple, so that people can taking the complexity and making it feel very effortless. So whatever the industry it is, so what connects it all for me is this idea of purpose-driven digital transformation. Across every industry, the learning is about human behavior, change management, how to keep the people at the center of the digital narrative that I have been doing. So that's been my North Star, no matter the industry, solving the real problems for real people, using the language of technology, using the heart of purpose. That's what the through line that connects it all for me. Yeah.
I think you said something beautiful, that's, empathy and technology coming together in a sentence. I don't think I have ever experienced that, but now that you explained the point, it is just absolutely artistically put. So just to throw a little bit light on that, in terms of empathy and like technology coming in together, as you said, agri is a section, where it has to be very, very deliberate. It has to be very careful. You have to be stepping forward, just making sure that, you're absolutely keeping, just the standards of like the technology plus the end user sort of connect to a common point. And I think you are somebody who has, immense knowledge in that part of things. So would love to know your thoughts on that too.
Yeah, see, I mean, digital transformation, as I said, it's not all about technology. No, it's a transformation. So technology can be any technology can give you a transformation, but the real transformation is about people. When they adapt, when they feel that really it is helpful in their, everyday, everyday routine process, it made my job easier. It made me feel seen. It made me, have life easier. That's when I would say technology alone cannot bring a transformation. When technology with its purpose, with the mixed special combination of empathy, that's where the vision also takes its roots, as you asked.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So, looking back, what part of your upbringing or early professional life shaped your instinct to lead transformation at scale?
Uh, when I look back, as you asked, I think the seeds of transformation were planted much in me earlier than I realized, I would say, in my upbringing or those first few chapters of my career. So I come from a family that valued curiosity and courage very well. So there was this unspoken rule in my home. If something is broken, they usually come to me, they will ask me to fix it. And my father always taught me that if something is unfair, I should speak up. And if I see a better way anywhere, I will not wait for permission to act. So I would say from childhood, that mindset really shaped how we see the changes. How we see the changes not as a disruption, but as an opportunity to build something better. So coming to professionally, my earlier career gave me a front seats to complexity always. I always worked in the fast-paced environments. I always worked in a very tough environment. And, I was not handed a rule book. Of course, no one was handed a rule book how to navigate throughout their life. So I had to figure things out and I have to lead initiatives before even I had to, carry a formal title, and I started earning the trust through my actions, through my deliveries, or through the performances. But I think what shaped me the most was working across layers. I'm so grateful and I'm also glad, I'm blessed that since my beginning of my career, I always had an opportunity to work right under the nose of leadership team. Plus, as I said, as I worked across all the layers, either it is tech teams, frontline users, leadership team, or the people who are in the ground fields, and realizing that real transformation only works when you connect all of them. So that instinct, to zoom out for strategy or to zoom in for empathy has really stayed with me, I would say. So whether I was digitizing the plant floor or building the data platforms or modernizing the agriculture system, the muscle memory in me came from those early lessons, I would say. Observe deeply, challenge the assumptions, and lead with the clarity, lead with the care towards the people. So honestly, to say to you, I didn't start with a goal to lead large scale transformation, but I kept saying yes to all the tough problems. And over time, transformation became not just as part of what I was doing, but it is how I thought, I would say.
I think you're an empath yourself. I think your father has instilled a moral compass, which is very rare. I think if more business leaders were taking this approach, philanthropists and companies like Tata and Ratan Tata, I don't think that's a very far vision. We have women who are leading, and it's with empathy and it's with like immense respect and diligence, which is rooted in such humble stories. It's beautiful to just know.
And
What?
especially, Malika, it is always a notion that if there is a women leader,
Uh-huh.
I mean, there is a less of empathy. Like, okay, women leader, she might, drive things, maybe a taskmaster, maybe
True.
no, that's not the perception. I would say men and women share for that matter, even male, there are so many, aggressive performers with a combination of empathy, really taking the team forward very successfully.
True.
Like I believe in that so much, yeah.
I think definitely that has what, in conclusion, at least I would say, your origin story is the reason why, you are seeing such immense success. And I think, just staying rooted in these stories is the reason why, you have been able to really stay in touch with the end users and create systems and solutions which actually created value. And so in terms of just, a moment, say, was there a moment your work became more than just a career? Because you're somebody who feels deeply about things. Something that started to feel like a responsibility that this arena needs me. I need to do something in this arena, and it's more than just a whim or a dream. I would love to know about that too.
So I would like to give you some real-time example which we have faced as a team.
Mhm.
It happened during a large-scale digital transformation in a manufacturing environment. We were implementing a lot of IoT stuffs and analytics on the shop floor, automating the processes, reducing the downtime, reducing the resources that are being utilized at the shop floor. So for most of us in the office, or at least most of us in the team, it was about the operational efficiency. It was about the KPIs, it was about analytics, it was about delivery, performance, timelines. So as part of this project implementation, after the implementation, during the support time, I spent some time on the floor with the line operator after implementation. I met a person, this person who had been doing the same task. He's standing on the line and he's repeatedly doing a physical task. He need to take here and put it there, and he had to enter the data. And he has been doing this particular activity in the shop floor for over 20 years. And I asked him how this project really helped him, because we have implemented recently, how the changes were really affecting him. And Malika, what he said, yes, of course, this project have really made my job easier. But one more thing he said, but more than that, more than this project has made my job easier, it made me feel seen, he said. 20 years he has been doing the same task, and no one even bothered to see, okay, this guy is doing this routine for 20 years, and today that guy is doing that same job with all the analytics, and he's producing the analytical reports, everything. And here today he's feeling that he is being made to he is visible to someone.
He's been recognized by somebody like you.
Yes.
True.
So that moment hit hard to all of us, I would say, not only to me, because it reminded all of us that transformation is not about replacing the people. It's about uplifting them. It's about valuing them. It's about giving them the different career. It's about giving them the valuable career. So that's when the work stopped for me, just as a career, I would say. I felt a responsibility to ensure that tech wasn't just solving the business problems, but also building the respect. It is also reducing the strain for the people and empowering the people to do their work, even if no one is tracking them in a dashboard, I would say. Since then, every project for me, or at least for my team, has had two layers, I would say. What it does for the business and what it does for the people also. When both move forward together, that's when the real transformation happens.
Especially in the example that you just gave me, it's beautiful. 20 years dedicating, your life. It's quite literally, like I'd say, 1/4 of your life. And you doing, the just the simple pleasures of a task well done. This person, I'm pretty sure, has been dedicatedly, doing his work without expecting recognition. Maybe he didn't even know that, once you do recognize, how he's gonna feel.
Actually, all his 20 years, he forgot the recognition. Like, I mean, he's coming, he's doing job every year. He would have got his appraisal, and he would be running, and he will come, he will do his job, eat his lunch, evening shift is over, he's going back. First time he has tasted that, feeling of being seen, feeling of being valued, and yeah, it is
You retain
all of us.
True. I think that is the secret to retention. Where you're able to create not just a job, but a lifestyle, a culture you're building. It's not just, end of the day, it's not just a career. Now here you are, setting up a culture for people to follow, and your footsteps are going to be the first ones to lead that culture ahead. So I think that's beautiful. I think this example is going to stay with me for a while, especially because we come from loyalty, so we understand the recognition, the retention part of things. It goes hand in hand.
It's
true. So in terms of just this person, I think you are somebody who gets deeply impacted by people and their growth. And you definitely are somebody who pushes, and you're probably the biggest cheerleader for just people doing well. And in terms of just making, just ensuring this person is seen, not just because it's a task well done, but also because you have been at it for so long, and thanks to you, it's like a little screw in a big wheel. Without you, this wheel wouldn't move. I think you have cracked that, and that's beautiful. Definitely beautiful. So in terms of just when you're building a digital roadmap, This is one of the things that, we were most excited about. Looking at the ecosystem that we're living in, the corporate world right now, it is absolutely digitized. If you're not digital, if you're not available on digital platforms, if you don't have integrations that are digital in nature, you probably lose relevance in like the market that you exist in. So if you're building a roadmap, a digital roadmap, across functions, what do you solve for first? Is it speed? Is it simplicity? Or is it a stakeholder buy-in?
Malika, straight answer is all three are very important. I would say
Ah,
all are very,
sure.
very critical for any of the initiatives as part of digital transformation. But if
Ah,
you ask me to put the, sequence, maybe, but all of these years in my career, I would say I was also thinking, delivery, speed, performance, reliability of the initiative is more important.
mhm,
But somehow I also need to acknowledge and agree that after entering agricultural industry, it also shaped me to sequence these importance in a different way. While
mhm,
all three are critical, the first thing I focus, at least the first thing I should focus or any leader should focus is stakeholder buy-in. You know, because
mhm.
without it, speed and simplicity does not really matter.
Sure.
Digital transformation is ultimately about people, as I was saying, their
Mhm,
trust, their adoption, their willingness to change. So, if your stakeholders are not on board, even the
mhm.
fastest, this is out of my experience, I would say, even the
Okay.
fastest, even the simplest solutions will stall and get abandoned. So, my starting point is listening to them, deeply
Mhm,
understanding each function's needs, each department fear and their goal. So,
mhm,
it's about building shared ownership and creating a shared vision that connects with what matters most to them. So, once you have that alignment, I would say speed becomes, you know, casually possible, because when
it's come
people believe
naturally.
in when people believe in the why I have to do this, why I have to be adopted to this initiative, why I have to use this initiative, they move
Ah,
faster, they support the experimentation what the technology team is doing, and
mhm,
they will help remove the roadblocks for the initiatives to come live. And simplicity is the thread that runs throughout the implementation, I would say, or throughout
mhm.
the roadmap, a digital roadmap that is. And this is also one of the biggest lesson for all of us is a digital roadmap that is too complex will definitely lose its momentum, no
True.
matter how well it's bought in. So the challenge is to balance the, ambition with, clarity, and
Mhm.
designing the solution that deliver impact quickly, but also at the point of how well it can be scalable, how well it can be evolved. So in short,
True.
I solve for people and purpose first, and then speed and simplicity follow naturally.
Definitely. I think stakeholder buy-ins, now that you explain it that way, definitely is the biggest brick that you got to cement before you start building the whole picture. Um, so in terms of, just a breakthrough moment, where your team turned a very complex challenge into a beautifully usable, a scalable digital solution. I would, since you have worked with so many teams and in so many, I'd say, capacities, it would be lovely to, hear your experience in that front too.
Maybe it may not be a very complex challenge that I'm talking about, but absolutely there is one, still that makes me smile or that makes me feel happy whenever I think about it. So
Mhm.
we were trying to improve our productivity across field force resources. Okay, there. I
Right.
mean, throughout my career in all the industries, I mean, I have a lot of, I face the business model is that I have to face field forces in one of
Uh-huh.
the companies. So we had all of these digital tools to handle with field forces. Like we have
Mhm.
CRM application in place, mobile apps,
Right.
and related dashboards for it. But if you
Mhm.
see across all of this, the usage was little patchy. That was the problem statement.
Mhm.
Data entry was inconsistent, that their
Uh-huh.
adoption was slow, and honestly,
Mhm.
people just didn't see the point, I would say. So at first, during the brainstorming sessions, we all thought that maybe we need to give them the more training for them to adapt to the initiatives, or
True.
so we were
Uh-huh.
brainstorming so many ideas. So one of my team members said, he's a very young guy, he's a fresher too. He said
Uh-huh.
something that flipped the whole conversation. He
Uh-huh.
asked all of us, what if we made it fun? I was like, come on, we are all talking about the application. How do we make it fun?
True.
And that's when the idea of gamifying the CRM experience came up. And let me tell you, this was not a typical IT decision also. We brought in most of the behavioral experts, we brought in frontline sales leads, even the regional managers, and together we co-created, finally a leaderboard based, gamification based, a batch earning version of the CRM. I know what you're thinking. You might ask
That's
gamification in
brilliant.
an application. But here's the fun part is it really worked, Malika, I would say. Adoption jumped. Teams started competing not in a toxic way, I would say, but with pride. So they used to, share their screenshot, their scores in the WhatsApp group, and their data accuracy has been improved. The managers of them could able to make the decisions faster. And the best part is it scaled very beautifully. Uh, it didn't even need more training for the end users to use the application. They just needed buy-in through something human way, I would say. So yeah, like turning such a dry underused system into a very what would I say, into a very playful high energetic platform, that was a real breakthrough. And it reminded all of us solving bigger problems does not always mean adding a more technology or adding a fancy or advanced technology. Sometimes it means rethinking how do we engage with people also. Yeah.
I'm going to take that away. Definitely, that's a very beautiful takeaway. I think through the gamification, you created a very positive competitive spirit, which is not toxic in nature. Now people just want to excel at what they do.
Excel,
And in
yeah, they
terms
want
of
to be topper in a leaderboard, and they
exactly,
were, it was exciting. Yes.
just positive reinforcement, as you said, you brought in behavioral, I'd say experts too. Like, I think once these guys are involved, it becomes more scientific. You start looking into the more, I'd say the bare human, I'd say, tactics that you could use to possibly like, just engage people more, increase that engagement rate. And in terms of just like, the sort of ease that, this entire scalability, the story that it has, I think it just shows, how complex problems just don't always need like an influx of money. Just a simple idea, a simple but effective idea sometimes turns the whole table around.
Exactly. Yeah.
Uh-huh,
He
uh-huh.
just passed this idea like a, like in a brainstorming session, and it really worked out. Yeah.
I think as a fresher, he's coming in from like, a place where he does want to create an impact, like,
Yes.
create a difference, maybe add to like, the bigger picture. And I'm pretty sure, like, as the leader here, since you all give him a platform for him to like, voice that out, I'm pretty sure that must have been a learning curve that I don't think can compare to anything else. That definitely must be a medallion moment in his life. So, in terms of transformation without compromise, because you're somebody who's, I think you're a very justice person. Like, you like things to be right. If something's wrong, you like to call it out. Your moral compass, in a way, thanks to your family and the upbringing that you have, it's extremely strong. You have an affinity towards just creating good. It doesn't matter if it's because not a lot of people can think that, technologically speaking, there's a lot of scope for like, creating a difference where you're able to impact people's lives and in terms of just the whole feeling and emotions part of things. I don't think people think of technology like that, but end of the day it does like go and impact like a lot of things. And in terms of just like the developments we're seeing, I'd say like a lot of people have benefited a lot from those. So if you're a champion of the end user happiness and in terms of like the real world terms, what have you learned about organizational readiness, in terms of just the mindset shift that you have, because digital progress in the last 20 years, the sort of pace we have seen, the sort of changes and the developments that we've seen, I believe that there has to be a roadmap because it has come out really really fast. So I would just like to know how exactly did you plan out the strategy around that.
I mean, mindsets change. Like, this is this is such a big one, Malika, in any of the transformation field, I would say. Because as
Uh,
I was saying, tech alone does not transform anything. It's the
True.
mindset that moves all the needles that we have. So one thing I have learned is you can't announce the digital change just like that. You have to earn the belief in it from the people. So we had a moment early in one of our transformations where the tech was perfect, where the platform was perfect. It was running, accurately fine, but the adoption was flat. So that's when we realized people were not, resisting the tool. They were resisting the unknown. They were missing the factor why this is. So we changed our playbook. We stopped saying, okay, this is coming. We are releasing the platform. We are releasing the initiative. Now today it is coming. Countdown starts. We stopped that. Anyway, we are not going to buy. So we started saying, here's how this will make your day easier. This is how this is going to change your life. And we let the frontline teams to own the design. It's not any of the initiatives, any of the platform is not the IT initiatives alone anymore. We have to make the things happen with the frontline teams, with the sales team or with the business team. We have to make them co-own the design. That shifted everything. So yes, tools matter, initiatives matter, technology is very much matter, but the real readiness, it comes when people stop feeling they are replaced. They have to start feeling they are involved as part of the initiative. They are involved as part of the implementation. They are also part of technology, and technology is part of their everyday's life. That's when when they start feeling it, that's called the real readiness, I would say. That's when they you know uh, they will have their mindset change, or they will shift their mindset towards technology or transformation.
So, just keeping that in mind, if tech moved at the speed of your boldest ideas, what would you build next?
Of course, the next pain point of solving the problems of the stakeholders.
Spoken like a true businesswoman. But I think, there is just so much, I'd say, empowerment of just in terms of the number of people able to reach once, this digitization has been achieved. You're able to network just way better. So across all the industries that you worked in, what's one universal truth about building successful cross-functional teams?
I would say it's a great question, Aniba. Because being in a service department, IT is, I work across a lot of product companies. So I have always been sitting at the side of service department, working in an IT company. Wherever you go across all industry, one universal truth that I have seen is that trust beats the structure every time. Trust beats hierarchy. Trust beats everything. If you want to really collaborate with the cross-functional teams. So you can have all the roles in the world, you can have all the processes in the universe, and you can have all the tools, products, platforms, data that all laid out perfectly. But if the team members don't trust each other, collaboration won't happen. In every industry I have worked in, whether it is a software, whether it is a manufacturing, whether it is FMCG, or agriculture, the teams, if you see the teams who has delivered consistently or who are the performers, or those are the people who felt safe to share their ideas, who's bold enough to ask the questions, who felt or who's open hearted or who's really generous to admit when they don't know something. So building that kind of trust inside the team really takes time, because I'm really passionate towards the team members. How do they build their career? How do they build their capability and all? So building such kind of trust inside team members or across the cross-functional teams takes time. It takes patience, and a real listening from the leader. Really listening from means it will not happen just over meetings or the reports or the dashboards that we are seeing. It is a real listening. So when trust is there, teams don't just coordinate, they innovate together, I would say. And that's the magic behind any success across all the cross-functional teams. I honestly believe in this. Trust matters a lot across people.
So in terms of just your own leadership, we have seen multiple, I'd say, examples and facets. What role does gratitude play? Because your first example, you were telling me that the person who's worked 20 years, he has not been recognized. But just a tiny little act from your end, and this person just has a whole new enthusiasm, a whole new zeal to his job. It means something to him. 20 years haven't gone to waste. 20 years haven't just been monotonous. 20 years have been towards this moment that has been built. So, in your own leadership, what role does gratitude play, in motivation, in momentum, in building real human alignment?
Malika, if you ask me, what is the blood of your job? What is the blood of your career?
Uh-huh.
Or what is the soul of your career? My answer would be one word is gratitude. Gratitude is everything for me, I would say. It's like the fuel that keeps my engine running every day of my life. Either it is my personal or professional or whatever it is.
Uh-huh.
When people feel genuinely appreciated, motivation shifts from being just doing a task to a shared purpose, I was saying. I used to think those are the days when I started my career in the software. I used to think motivation came from the KPIs, KRAs, and the strategy decks. But over time, I have realized it comes from feeling valued. When you're valued, that's when your motivation gets boosted. So there was a project. I'm just throwing an example where everything could could go wrong. Okay, it did because the project has got tight deadlines. It has got tough feedback, midnight calls.
Mhm.
There are, I mean, there are a lot of projects like this, right? When we run a
Uh-huh.
complex assignments, always you will end up in a tight deadlines. You will, you have to keep people throughout the night, or because of the deadlines or because of so and so reasons.
Mhm.
But what kept the team going wasn't the pressure, wasn't the package that we are receiving at the end of the year. It was the appreciation, just passing to say, hey, I saw you what you did there. Thank you
Uh-huh.
so much, many thanks for what you have done. It created a completely different energy.
True.
Gratitude reminds people they really matter. When people feel that, they naturally align not just to the goal, but they
Mhm.
will also be aligning to each other very well. That's
True.
when the things move. The things move not because they have to do the task or they have to do the work, but because they will love to do the job. They will want to do the job. So for me, gratitude is not just a soft skill, it's a
Mhm.
leadership multiplier. Though
Wow,
gratitude
beautiful.
can be very quiet, it can be powerful and
Mhm.
completely a game changing factor for any leadership. But what's actually important is, and equally important is, receiving it also.
I think the energy around us also like changes. It shifts to a more positive, more reinforced, more motivated. So I'm gonna get
Exactly.
this day. I'm gonna get this task done, and it's a more, I'd say, energetic, entire energy that is like now there in the whole team. I think that's a very very lucrative and an extremely productive team, I would say. So in terms of the field logic, and the boardroom speed, that's a massive topic in the agri layer, which has been debated for quite a while since tech has, sort of taken precedence in the entire industry. How does working in agriculture shift your approach compared to tech or finance? Since you've had immense experience in both the fields, you're probably the best person to give us that comparative analysis. And where does it challenge you more? Like, or differently, like, because of course, different sectors, so they pose like, different sort of, I'd say, problems that come in with each industry sectors. So I would love to have your thoughts on that too. Like, that's something I've been pretty curious about.
See, when I joined the agri input company, I was super excited.
Uh-huh.
In fact, I was looking forward to it. Agriculture definitely rewires the way I thought,
Mhm.
rewired the way I thought. It rewires the way what people thinks and
Mhm.
how to lead that also. In tech
Mhm.
or finance, the environment is hyper structured. You
True.
plan, you sprint, you pivot fast. But in agri, you're working with soil, you're working with seasons, you're working with weather, you're working with farmers. So variables that don't, these are all the variables that don't follow your roadmap, because
Absolutely
season
true.
is not in your hands, weather is not in your hands, climate is
Mhm.
not in your hands, farmer is so sensible. So you can't hit refresh button on a crop cycle. Okay, something has gone wrong. Okay, let me start it from the beginning. No, that can't happen. You can't, refresh a
It's
crop
perished
cycle.
already. We have lost it in
Exactly.
that moment.
So the first big shift for me was patience. You learn to think in cycles, not on a quarters. You focus more on sustainability than just velocity, I would say. So the execution excellence here in agriculture means solving not just the process efficiency, but for the farmer's resilience. So the first shift is patience, as I said. And second shift, my favorite word, empathy. Whom are you building for? Whom are you transforming for? Like, whom are you building for? The users who don't sit in AC offices, they are in fields. Sometimes they will be in extreme condition, extreme weather, extreme climatic factors. Often with they are the people they are often with low tech exposure. So you have to meet
Absolutely.
them where they are rather than where your tech roadmap wants them to be.
Correct.
So here's the thing, those very challenges make the work more meaningful, I would say.
True.
Instead of pulling the people to your roadmap, you are making a roadmap for the people. So every system you improve or every insight you deliver has a real human impact. You're not just optimizing the cost or you're not just boosting the ROI. You're helping us secure livelihoods. You're helping a crop cycle. You're helping the farmer to get a good productivity. So, so the while tech or finance or the major software development gave me a speed, and finance might have given me a structure. Agri taught me humility. And honestly,
Oh,
it's the
beautiful.
layer that grounds everyone most as the leader. In whomsoever you meet as an agri industry, they all will be grounded as leader as great. Yeah.
I think it's something about just the sacred work that you are involved in. The bigger picture actually is you're feeling people, the end users, you're the farmers. As you said, they work in extreme conditions. And without them, you can actually say goodbye to just your daily pulses and your rices. And I don't think us sitting in cities, we always think about that. So when you said you don't pull the people here, you create a roadmap to go there. I think that probably is what is the beauty of agri. It is something that you do with the grassroots, and the grassroots teaches you, to stay grounded. It is immensely beautiful when you just think about the poeticness in what you guys do in agri. I would definitely, it is poetic, in terms of just the work. I think it is one of the most traditional. It is rooted in our ancient, scriptures, and every single researcher, historian, archaeologist, no matter how many eras pass, agriculture is going to have that superior precedence forever. Just
Exactly.
thanks to the, work that, these farmers are doing. That's why we are sustaining and living as of
End of
today.
the day, the satisfaction you get is you worked for farmers.
Correct.
And the soulful feeling of working for agriculture is a different feeling.
This digital trust must look absolutely stellarly different. How exactly would you possibly picture those two? Because national boards expecting something else, but your end users, which are your rural farmers, expecting something else. And that digital trust got to speak to these people in these different positions. And balancing
Exactly.
that out does not sound like it's an easy job. I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's a very peculiar question, I would say. Digital trust, as you said, digital trust looks very different depending on where you stand. Because
Correct.
honestly, digital trust does not wear the same face everywhere. For a rural farmer, trust is not about the fancy tech terms or the sleek application or advanced mobile application. It is for them. It is about will this system actually help me to get a to to take a better decision for my crop or for my income. Will
True.
this will this advice what has been in this app will actually help me grow better this season or not? Will this real app work even because they always sit in a not a great network area. So will this
True.
app
True.
work even when my network is patchy? So for
Mhm.
them, it is not about the features. It's not about the fancy thing. It's about reliability. So we have had a farmers say, like, don't show me this graph, don't show me all of this fancy pictures, fancy gadgets.
What will I do with it?
Show me what should I do this week. Advise me
True.
properly. So
Mm-hmm.
if they don't feel that tech is reliable, if they
Mm-hmm.
don't feel that application is understandable,
True.
and if they don't feel that initiative is relevant to their life, you lose
Mm-hmm.
them. So
See,
we keep interfaces, consciously simple, instructions in the local languages, regional pictures, and make sure there is a human touch. Someone they can talk to when the app is not enough. So,
Mhm.
that is how we see digital trust in terms of rural farmers. On the other side, if you ask, when you
Mhm.
talk to boards, when you talk to regulatory bodies, when you talk to the management or the fancy
Mhm.
corporate people, for them it is the data clean? Is it traceable? Can we stand by this in front of regulators? Can we stand by this in front of investors? So, there, the digital trust means transparency, traceability, data integrity. So,
Mhm.
they want assurance that what they are seeing is very clean, what they are
Mhm.
seeing is, or what they are getting is compliant oriented, what they have got is auditable, what has been
Mhm.
implemented is auditable. So whether it is a
Mhm.
pricing data, whether it is a distribution intelligence, whether it is retailers data, ESG metrics, whatever.
True.
So building trust across the spectrum, you know from the
Mhm.
rural farmer to a regulatory body, means building for credibility at every touch point. Credibility matters for any of the stakeholders in the value chain, and that
True.
includes meticulously taken care of. I mean, meticulously designed initiative, secured data,
Mhm.
glorious delivery, or how do you say, reliable delivery.
Correct.
And
Correct.
I would say it's a tightrope, honestly.
It is
When it clicks, it is powerful,
true.
because
Uh-huh.
trust once earned, it becomes the bridge.
Farmers have to be very, very careful and mindful of the fact that there's a certain type of crop I can earn here. This land is not going to be if it's like Jhum farming, for example, and if it's like the Bihar plain farming, for example, it's completely two different worlds. Now,
Exactly.
just thinking about how many decisions the poor farmer has to make, just to ensure that, this round of my crops are going to be successful. I think companies have come out, especially with SeedWorks. We are seeing so much advancement in this sort of tracking, this sort of traceability that has come in. I would love to hear a little bit more on the traceability part of things. Just looking at the sort of solution it has presented.
See, traceability now, it has become even a government compliance as well. As you were rightly saying, it has become a mandatory for all the seed companies, not only for the seed companies, I would say for even the food companies.
Correct.
Whatever, even whatever we are eating, what is the rice that is kept on my plate, is it really from a trustworthy resource? How do I trace it back? I mean, on
Mhm.
what belief I would eat this? You might be traveling everywhere, and a farmers also, as you said, end of the day, what he is looking for, productivity, what he is looking for,
Mhm.
a good yield. If that does not happen, if the crop failure happen, where farmers should know, where is the place to go and knock the door, so that I can get a solution for what I have gone through all these days. Because end of the day, for farmer, productivity and yield is his life, yield is his
True.
breath, soul, everything. So
Mhm.
I believe now most of the food companies, most of the seed companies really invested in the traceability programs. If you see in SeedWorks also, we have invested a lot in traceability, and we have designed a solution where
Mhm.
if anything goes wrong, we will be able to trace back from which lot it has been generated, from where it has been produced, from which area, which geographical, in what way, who is responsible for it. So we have all the mechanism to trace it back to the root. Not
Mhm.
only here, I feel, as government is taking it as a mandatory, everywhere it has given a real importance, I would say. And it
Mhm.
is also getting implemented.
I think the counterfeiting of products also can be avoided through this exact same process.
Exactly. Yes.
So it goes hand in hand with the solution that is coming in. We are able to create a ecosystem, which is more, as you said, it's more credible in nature. If there is something that does go wrong, there is somebody that, the farmer or the end user can actually go and outreach that, this is the issue, and I'd like to know, what I can do to resolve this. And this solution comes in from actual credible sources, people who can actually give out a solution which is going to either, solve, maybe not solve, because this is harvest we're talking about. It is too big of a loss, to kind of reincur and, like, just rebuild. But in terms of just compensation of, like, somebody's livelihood, probably that becomes a little easier, that connect, that empathy is now a little bit easier with that. So that also brings me back to the point that technology empathy, definitely, we are seeing a lot of showcases of this in, like, in real life. So just moving on, uh, what could the future feel like for you in terms of innovation and imagination? If you had a tech crystal ball, just going a little fantastical here, say, we were back to our Disney eras, and, we were back to our fairy tales, and it was somehow possible to maybe be in Hogwarts and be a wizard or a witch. And if you had a tech crystal ball of sorts, what capability or behavior do you think will define the next 5 years of digital transformation in India?
Fantasy question. So if I had a tech crystal ball, I would say uh, maybe I'll bring a little, technical term. I would
Uh-huh.
say hyper local intelligence at scale.
Oh, no,
That's
have
going
to.
to define the years coming. Let me
Mhm.
explain this. So
Yes,
we all
please.
know India is not a single market, right? It's not one market. So it's hundreds of micro markets with different languages. We are a secular country, and we are known for, being with different cultures. Our micro markets are with different languages, different
Mhm.
cultures, different climates, different connectivity levels. So what works here may not be working at the area where you're from. I'm not sure where are you
I'm from
sitting, but I'm
Jharkhand.
just saying.
No, no, of
Okay.
course. True that, though. Mhm.
What works in Pune may completely fail in Patna. So
True.
the real unlock will be tech that adapts to the context automatically.
Mhm. Mhm.
Imagine a AI, okay? AI is a buzzword, so I'm taking AI.
Uh-huh.
Imagine AI that does not give you a generic weather alert, but says, or does not give any farmer a generic alert. It is
Uh-huh.
saying, hey, based on your soil, based on your past yield, based on your, current local prices, this is what you should grow next. Or some
Hyper
retailers
personalized.
retailer system, that change behavior depending on what their local economy is doing that week. So,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
here's the behavior part, users are getting smarter. Rural users,
Yeah.
rural users, or, tier two cities, tier three cities, or the farmers, or the factory operators, or the frontline operators, they're learning fast. So the
Mm-hmm.
expectation is not just access anymore. Everyone are accessible to technology now. I mean, even
Correct.
anyone who's using WhatsApp, anyone who's having accessibility towards YouTube, Insta, information, the matter here is relevance. If your tech is not timely, if your tech is not local, and if your solution is not actionable, people will move on. They will abandon. So, in short, future won't be defined, just by what we build,
Right,
but
right.
how deeply we localize it, how deeply it connects to their nature with, as I say, with empathy, with intelligence, with speed. Because in
Uh-huh.
India, the scale is massive, it's huge. But trust and traction will always come down to how personally useful that,
True.
the tech or the transformation feels to each user.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's hyper personalized, which is why it just connects back to the person. Now there's also a precedence that, okay, so this person, this AI or this tool or this certain solution has taken in account that my environment, whatever I'm going to be possibly considering parameters that is going to impact or affect, my yield or anything that I'm possibly doing. It is going to differ place to place. As you just gave me the example of Patna and Pune, there are two completely different terrains. And I think a generic solution will just not, cut the chase. It is probably going to be the first bottleneck to a lot more problems. So I think, if just correct me if I'm wrong, the word is hyper localization, right?
Hyper-local intelligence. Yeah.
Hyper-local intelligence. I had to just take a note of this. I just think this is something that should be, incorporated in any
Learning from
conversation.
there is a lot to learn from youngsters. I also, came across this word from one of the freshers again. When we were talking about, the implementations, the footprints of digital transformation, etc., etc., I came across this fancy and, very informative word. Then I deep dive. Then as soon as you said that crystal ball, some fantasy, so I thought, why don't we, bring this?
That brings me to my next question. What do you think is one thing leaders are still underestimating? Whether it's people, platforms, or pace. In terms of just the kind of industry we're looking at, as you said, there's different forms of leadership. And like, we discussed about gratitude, we discussed about, the culture, where you bring in diversity, you welcome thoughts, you create a safe space for, ideas to exchange. But there's a world way beyond that too, where the actual business comes in. Is there some front, that probably leaders have not yet, sort of explored, or maybe, we still don't know how to approach that, or maybe we are underestimating the power of that certain thing? Just in, a leader would probably be the best person to answer that. So
I would not say it has not been explored yet. It is not touched yet. So we all experimented it. We all, experienced it, I would say. But still, I think many leaders, including me, including my, the colleagues which I was working with, still I doubt myself. Are we still underestimating how much ownership people can take? Especially or those who are not traditionally seen as digital native. Let me give you an example. We were digitizing the inventory and we were digitizing the production logging at one of our manufacturing units.
Right.
So we assumed that the plant operators, maybe with no experience, maybe with no exposure to apps, inexperience in digital handles, I'd say, with no experience or with no exposure to applications or with no exposure to handhelds, would need a constant support. So when we were building an initiative, most of our mind is how are we going to build a constant support to him? How do we going to build the system in a way that so that he will, this was a rather than putting our efforts on building a super good solution, we were also thinking like how are we going to handhold him? Correct. But to our surprise, within 2 weeks or 2-3 weeks of the implementation, one of our operators, a shift lead he not only mastered the workflow, he created a visual sheet for his regional language for others. He said, I was actually surprised because again, creating a dashboard is again my responsibility. And that person created a dashboard, a visual sheet for his team members in his regional language. So he said, if this helps reduce the manual errors in my everyday operations, and if this helps saves my team's time, why wouldn't I use it? So makes absolute sense. At that moment flipped something in all of our head that we don't have a tech adoption problem. We have a trust and enablement problem, I would say. Leaders often think my people are not ready, my people needs time, but in reality, we are the ones, I would say, not giving them the enough credit, if I have to put it abruptly, or we need to bring the right tools in the right form at the right time. So what is underestimated? It is not the people's intelligence or capability. It is their instinct to improve. If only we invite them into our transformation journey. So the platforms are here, product is here, as the initiative is here, or the technology is here, and the pace is also set. But spark is that's with our people. And they're often, 5 steps or 6 steps ahead of what we imagine. I think just to, sort of put ourselves in the shoes of the leaders,
it's a massive responsibilities on like, their shoulders, where, of course, we know that, they're trying to create a system which is going to be enabling, like, the lives of people, the livelihoods of people. So while, of course, I'd say, like, your point stands absolutely true to the T. Is there any way that, we could be possibly looking around, like, this ownership? Is it that we need more trainings? Is it that, there has to be more real world experience, where shadowing the leaders would probably make these guys more, I'd say, involved, more solution oriented, more owners, like, they act as owners of this program at one end, like, whatever front they are, possibly handling. But just in terms of, like, how they're going to be approaching it, it's not going to be a follower mindset only. It's also going to be a learner and somebody who owns this solution.
Exactly.
That I think that in terms of just, like, the carefulness, or just ensuring that nothing goes wrong, in that hand holding phase is super important because of that. um is there a way that, leaders can actually empower that, because I don't think that is very widely talked about, because ownership is something that any and every industry needs. And in terms of just the work balance, I think the work gets a little bit better in quality also when the person who's involved takes ownership of it, like, this is personally going to affect me. It personally affects, exactly what I can contribute to this project, in terms of just the sort of things they could be learning from it. uh, I think that awareness around this is, like, something that needs to be built. I would
Exactly.
love to know your thoughts on
True.
that. Mhm.
Yes, of course. See, it is not that when a tech is built, when a platform is built, okay, this is how it works. You go and work on this way. The first step is A, second step is B, third step is C. I am
Yeah.
working accordingly. It is that you're pushing. I mean,
Mhm.
you're pushing them to do this. As I said,
Mhm.
give them the awareness why
Mhm.
this change is coming, what you should do as part of this initiative, how
Mhm.
this is gonna, why, what you have to do, and how this is gonna change your life in your everyday life. If you give them this awareness and you make them, to be a owner for that, and you make them, to be a accountable person for
Yes.
that to become success, definitely
Mhm.
he will himself, reap the fruits out of it. All- I mean, the factor here is transformation is not something different from their life. We are doing transformation for their life.
Mhm.
When
Mhm.
they get this feeling, this is gonna affect my life in a positive way. If they have this awareness, and I'm sure, like, the transformation can take its different later.
Definitely. And it sounds like it'll be fun while transforming. I
Exactly.
think that's the kind of culture you've been able to create, which is why, your freshers have that faith in you, where if they do present ideas, it's not going to be shunned down. It might not be the best of ideas, but it's going to be heard. It's going to be finessed on. You're going to be adding your two bits. And, like, they essentially have, like, a space where these ideas don't just, they're not just like shared out on the table, but they're also being heard by people who are making actual decisions in the industry. So it also matters to them that I'm being heard by people who are at the forefronts of, like, the decision making in the field that I'm working in. That sort of motivation is incomparable, in my opinion. So that brings me to my next question. What's the fastest no you've ever said to a tech idea? I
Many.
do know a lot of ridiculous ones are out there. And why?
See, many I see as part of, we always explore so many things. We evaluate the partners, we evaluate the technology solutions. Many, I mean, we keep brainstorming. Whether we implement or not, we will be on our toes to brainstorm the things. Many knows I have said. One time, we were we were once pitched an AI powered predictive tool. Okay, and the model looked really brilliant, and it really, I mean, it was promising also, it was exciting. It made everyone's jaw to go down. Okay, so it looked really brilliant on paper, tons of data, lots of buzzword because it is AI anyway. But the catch here is the model completely ignored only one variable, which is really critical for my industry, critical for my solution is the monsoon. I said, okay, everything is working fine. AI and I'm really excited to implement AI. But what's the point of missing out a variable, the monsoon? I said no
Right.
immediately. Because in agriculture, if you're not factoring weather unpredictability, especially the monsoon, you are just building a fantasy platform. You're just building another fantasy technology, not a forecast, not an ideal forecast of what farmer needs, who's working on the field, what my production department who's working on the field and who's producing the hybrid
Sure.
seeds. So tech, the learning is any tech or the transformation without the domain depth can mislead more than it helps, I would say.
So
Domain
from
depth is, yeah, domain depth is really important. And sometimes the fastest no, it's not to the idea itself, I would say, but to the oversimplification of the complex reality.
correct,
Okay,
correct.
this would work. I am
Uh-huh.
bringing AI, it's super and advanced technology. It would definitely help. No, that is oversimplifying. The complex reality is end of the day whether the person who's working on the field will be able to see the forecast or not. So I
True.
would rather be, grounded, than be a glamorous, techie solution oriented
Uh-huh.
person, especially when real livelihoods are involved in agriculture.
True,
Yeah.
true. I think it just becomes like a plan which is best for the superficial world, which is very far from the realistic world that we're living in. So from blueprint to actual prototype is where we are seeing if it's actually going to be creating some value or if it's just something that looks really good on paper. And when it's actually executed and we see any use cases coming out of it, it doesn't solve the very issue that it was supposed to be built to solve. So that definitely justified as to why that would be the fastest no. And I'm glad you also explained the why part of it. Because in terms of just the amount of I'd say the amount of importance that the digital transformations or just having like a lot of these tech integrations coming in, it has become a very flashy business now.
Flashy business.
instead of instead of just having that actual I'd say productivity and that actual use case come out of it, there's a lot of I'd say additions of features, features which are so-called features because they're not as good as your in-app gamification features. Okay, they do not come near to that sort of solutioning, but they are just sort of creating a badge of honor for a certain company which looks very good on paper, but like when you look deeper it's sort of hollow. You don't see any in-depth say base to it, strong core to it. So I think that is something a lot of these new companies are facing troubles in, where over tech enthusiasts or too much of a techie, I'd say just a whole mindset that they're in right now, probably we're losing a whole light on what actually we set out to do. So that actually brings me to the legacy, because the way you think, and I think from your very origins, you've had this entire family background, which has helped you be very rooted, be very humble. The empathy that you have shown in every single position throughout your career, which has actually helped and actually built the culture that you've been able to build, for not just SeedWorks but also the previous organizations you're part of. I'd like to say legacy is a way of thinking. It starts from a thought process, and I think reflection and the influence of that reflection on yourself, on your thoughts, and just how you're going to be approaching your day, exactly how you're going to be controlling these thoughts of fear and thoughts of mistrust, or maybe my idea is good enough just not quite there, that bridging the gap of say I'm going to build a legacy not because I want to be famous, but because this legacy is needed for thousands after me who are going to come and follow my
Sure.
footsteps.
Yes.
So you've mentored, led, and inspired people. What belief do you hope your teams or mentees carry forward long after you move on?
uh, if there's one belief I want them to, I hope they carry, it's that resilience. I always tell my people, resilience always beats any brilliance, especially over time. Yes, talent matters, strategy matters, execution matters, but what truly sustains impact, is the ability to stay steady, especially when things get messy, and they will, So I have seen the most growth in people who did not always have the perfect answers, who did not always have the perfect career growth, but who showed up, who stayed curious and asked for help at the right time, and didn't give up for for many of the rejections. After many of the rejections, I think they will be able to cope up really well in their career, in their life. So I tell my teams, be bold. Yes, of course, we have to be bold, and also be patient. Keep showing up with clarity. Keep showing up with all the curiosity, especially when the results don't come in the easy way, don't come in the path that you walk. That's where the real leadership is getting shaped also. If they remember that, if team remembers that, even long after I have moved on, I will know I did something, at least, a little bit of right thing.
Definitely, you're one of the leaders. I could already tell, you are somebody who, whichever room you'll walk into, you will ensure that everybody is just comfortable. If you have an idea, I am all ears. That sort of enthusiasm is absolutely beautiful. So that brings me to the last question, and we can wrap after that. What would you say to a young woman building her path in a space that still rarely expects her to lead, not as advice, but as an invitation into your world?
It is not a, as you said, it's not again advice, maybe as a note, or whatever you want to take. It is for you also. I will tell myself also, or to all the women out there.
Mhm.
I would say, don't wait for the room to expect you. Just show up and, start owning the space. Recently, I was going through a quotation. Even if you want to walk through the hell, own the hell and walk it like a queen. You don't need to be louder, or we don't need to be louder. We don't need to be a tougher person, or we don't need to be more like any of the other person in the room, but we just need to be unapologetically ourselves, with clarity, with purpose, and with the quiet fire, you know that says inside us, I belong here, whether you see it or not, whether the opposite person like it or not. you know Whenever we feel outnumbered, we will know that our presence is already changing something, and we being in that room or in that place is a signal to the next woman watching us, that the next woman thinking, maybe I can too. So let's all come together as we are, ask the hard questions, be a whistleblowers, build the table. If no one is even offered the table, let's build our own table, and we all know that no one is alone here. Even if it feels like sometimes I'm alone, you are alone, we are alone, but it is not anymore. The path may be rare, uh, it's not empty anymore. So, we are walking together, we are walking it along with all of us.
It's not a road less taken anymore. It's a road that, thanks to leaders like you, it's a known road now. It's just the person has to have the resilience and the courage to, just start on the walk and keep at it. You know, um, I think this was a brilliant session, probably one of the best podcasts that I've had, and I am absolutely glad that I chose you as my first guest. There couldn't be a better opening to our agri season. And in terms of just the information that we got, we did not want this to be somewhere, it did not need to be technological and like, all business. We wanted to know the person, behind the business. And there couldn't be a better, I'd say, lineup than this in terms of just the amount of insights I'm going to be taking away from this. It's immense. And I can't begin to thank you for giving me your time. And genuinely, we are grateful, that you were able to take out this time, first of all, and the honesty that you brought into this space. I can see that is something that you deeply, deeply value. And that is something that we absolutely felt here while, I think me and Pooja were both here. And it's basically how thoughts become impact, and like, you're changing actions, changing people's point of views, and like, just more women get inspired. I mean, for a fact, I know I am. So definitely.
Thanks so much for your kind words. Yeah.
It's just that we are really glad that you trusted us with your time, and like, just we understand that your story is like something that goes really in depth. So the fact that you shared it with us, we're really honored, first of all. And I think the kickoff to this season was absolutely stellar. We couldn't have imagined a better guest than this. Absolutely not.
Thank you so
Thank you
much to
so
you.
much.
Thank you so much to Pooja. Thank you so much to Akshay. Thank you so much to Elevatoz and for all the people who is running this. Thank you so much for doing all of these good things. Keep it up. Keep doing the good things. Right things will happen. Sure.
Absolutely. With that thought, I think we are all going to be having a pretty positive year.